Okay, so we're going to take some cuttings off of the fig tree I got here. I don't remember the name of this fig, by the way, because I wrote it down in pen when I planted it, put a marker in there, and I don't see the marker. And even if I did see the marker, it's more than likely blank by now. So I got to find another way to mark these bushes so I know what they are in the future, because marking them with pen seems to be a really bad idea. So anyway, I'm going to take a couple cuttings off of this because it's that time of the year where it's really not going to go much further. Plus I want to condition this plant for winter, as well as get some of these cuttings and rooted and bring them in for the winter. That way I can give you slight updates on the progress of cuttings. I'm also going to do several different cutting techniques because a bunch of people basically said to do it several different ways. So we're going to try all those ways and see if it matters or makes a difference, or good results, bad results. Either way, we will get results, good or bad. By me cutting this bush basically back down isn't going to kill the plant, because I have mowed these plants, this bush basically back to the ground several times. I have another fig tree. I'm going to take cuttings off of that as well, and I'm going to separate them. I believe they're two different kinds of figs, but I have cutting these down to the ground and they just keep coming back every year. So the root stock is really what it's all about. And some people suggest I just dig it up. Yeah, I probably could if everything else fails, but if I could get cuttings to root, I'd be happy with that. All right, and I'll leave this plant with the new owners and let them figure out a way to get it to grow. So let me get some cuttings and I will be right back and we'll go from there. Okay, so you can see I have several cuttings. I got 4 from the fig that you see in the first one, and these are from the fig from the other side of my yard. I believe they're both different figs. I don't believe they're the same fig. 2 different varieties. I am going to mutilate these in such a way that they root. But I wanted to show you really quick before I start cutting them up. There's a sap that's running out of them. You can see it's dripping a sap right now. Okay, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I need to probably get these into water or something relatively quickly. Let's see if we could get these to root, and I'm going to do several different rooting techniques on these that were suggested to me, and we're going to try them all, or most of them anyway, and we're going to see if we can get these to root and bring them in for the winter. I'll give you updates on these as they grow so you can see if it works, it don't work, or what I'm doing wrong, or whatever. All right, so I'll be right back. Okay, so the first technique I'm going to use is just simply sticking it in water and letting it root. We're going to see if that basic and simple method is effective for this particular plant in rooting. So as you can see, I stripped off most of the leaves. I left a couple on top, and I took everything else off. I probably should have left all those leaves on, but everybody seems to be saying take them off, you don't want them on there. These leaves look very healthy. What I took off looked very healthy. But we're going to basically root it this way. And this is a technique I use to root my suckers. So if you've never seen me root suckers, I don't think I did any videos on rooting suckers. All right, so what I do for rooting suckers, you'll notice my greenhouse is filled with these cups. What I do is I then fill it with water, and I take my sucker cuttings and I stick my suckers inside here just like that. Alright, then I wait till it roots. This one just came out of this container, and you can see my sucker has roots on it. Now this is ready to be planted. So I'm going to leave this fig in here, and we're going to let it sit in there until it decides to root. Now there's no rooting hormone in here. It's just straight water inside of a container like you would normally do to get roots from any kind of cutting you get. Okay, so we'll move on to the next technique that was suggested to me, and I will be right back. Okay, so the second technique was told that I should cut this down to a stem with at least 3 nodes. So I've got several nodes on here, plus there's a top with a bud And so I was told to cut it basically like this. And there's actually two techniques for this type of rooting, and one was suggested that you just do this to it and stick it in the soil. You can scarcify the stem, which is, I don't know or feel that's necessary, being the roots will come from the nodes, but you can scarcify the stem. Maybe we'll do that a little bit on the bottom. But this particular technique I'm showing you now is what somebody had specifically suggested to me, and I checked them out, and they seem like they have a little bit of understanding as far as fig trees go specifically. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm simply going to leave it out just like that. That's just going to sit there now until, from what I was told, it gets a callus on the ends. These will dry up and they'll callus. This stick will stay okay like that. I'm going to keep it out of the sun, obviously. But I'm going to let the outsides callus, and the reason why they said to let that do that is because it'll keep this from rotting and getting infected and mold and everything in the soil, because that can happen with cuttings. That's why you want to root these so the roots come out and you're driving energy through that stem up to that point. I will put this in the shade. I could even put it in here for now, just somewhere not directly in sunlight. I can like stick it right there where it's got a pretty good amount of humidity coming off that, and it's not in direct sunlight, so it'll kind of just keep it going there. If it dies or rots there, I'll move it somewhere else or something else. All right, so that was the second technique. I'll be right back with the third. Okay, so the third technique that I'm being told to do is to simply just cut it like that and stick it in the soil. No rooting hormone. We're just going to stick that in the soil, and we're going to keep that watered under a regular basis, and we're going to see if that roots based on what I was told by somebody specifically. So there's no rooting hormone. I just stick it in the soil. I'm going to water this. I can't do this and film at the same time, but I will water it, and I will keep you up to date on this one. Actually, all of them, because these will all come in for the winter, providing they survive the fall or the next several weeks being out here. So I just removed all the stems off it, put it in as low as I can go with it. I did not scarcify the stem, and that's basically it. So we'll water it down. We'll see if it roots up. We'll go from there. I got a feeling this technique's probably not going to work, but it was suggested to me, and I figured I'm going to try it without the rooting hormone, because I was told it doesn't need the rooting hormone, but we're going to try them both ways. I'm going to do one with rooting hormone and without rooting hormone. So hang in there. I'll be right back. See you in a minute. Okay, so in this technique, I believe I'm on the fourth now. I don't even know. In this technique, we're going to do the same thing as the last technique, except we're going to use rooting hormone like this. All right. And you can see I got it on there pretty good. Why did I put so much of it on there? And make sure it's all the way up, because I'm going to be watering this plant on a regular basis, and that is going to wash off. Now there is one more technique I'm going to try that wasn't suggested to me, but I know it from the old days, my grandmothers and stuff like that, just going back in time a little bit. And the technique that they used was they used willow to actually get roots to come out of plants, and they would just basically soak the willow branches in the water for a day, and then let that juice come out of the willow branches and leaves and everything, crush them up, put them in the water, let it soak up. You'll see the water kind of turn color, and then you stick your things that you want to root in that willow branch juice, and the results were always amazing. So we're going to do that, but that's going to have to be on another episode, because I didn't prepare the willow branches in time for me to actually do that, because I didn't think about doing that. I do have two more that I should have never cut off just yet, because I was going to do those in the willow juice, but obviously I forget again. So I have to get these into water right away so they don't dry up and die, and then I can do the willow juice, and I'll make that up today. I'll do an update video. I won't make it very long. I'll just show you that I did it, and we can watch the progress and go from the time, date, and stamp and all that good stuff from there. All right, so that is your rooting system for your figs that everybody had suggested to me on social media and YouTube and everywhere else. All right, so watch it, enjoy it, follow along, and see how these things go. Any major changes come up with it, if they die, I'll just end that part of the series that it died, and we won't continue on with it, and we'll just go on with the ones that are doing good, and we'll follow their progress. All right, so I will see you guys on the next one. Take care. I forgot to mention one thing I did do different with the rooting hormone example here is that I did scarcify this stem. I should have showed you me doing it. I just didn't show it, but I scarcified the stem, but I did not scarcify any of the other stems. Okay, so I just want to make that clear that this is the only one that is scarcified. All right, so I'll see you on the next one.